Hey guys, Cody here. Hey, had a question today that was timely regarding Afghanistan. Quick question, so I thought I'd answer it and then throw in a few others that I've had, in my queue for a while to answer. So, sorry, just let me log in. It's timed out on me. First one is I think someone wrote me today and asked, "Hey, were DS agents on that last flight out?" And my understanding is that the U.S. ambassador was on the last flight out. So the answer is yes. We're responsible. DS agents are responsible for the safety, security, obviously, of diplomats, including the ambassador. The ambassador has a protection detail led by a DS special agent. And so DS agents were definitely on that flight along with others, in particular, our security contractor brothers that provide, the diamond and the security for the detail. So they were on the flight. I won't answer any other questions really on Afghanistan right now. I think it's we all have our feelings on it, right? And those of you who've been following me a while probably understand mine. I plan on having someone on the podcast here soon that's been to Kabul. I'm just trying to find some good time. I think the second week of September, I'll get him on the podcast and we'll really discuss, Afghanistan in more detail. So try to let the emotions get out of it before we begin to talk, about what happened. So anyway, that's that. So let me get to a few other questions here. I'll read the questions out first. Someone asked me to discuss downtime living overseas, like what it's like, in general terms, I suppose. The other couple questions, let's see, they're on my computer. Is it worth doing some things to prepare for BSAC? And they gave some examples. And then do domestic assignments have the same perks as overseas assignments? So let's go with downtime living overseas. So it all depends where. Yes, you can have downtime living overseas, 100%. Depending on most posts you can go just about anywhere. I mean, a lot of countries have places that are off limits. It could be off limits due to crime, could be off limits due to terrorist activity, could be off limits due to potentials for natural disasters or something like that. But in general, you have access to whatever country you're in. Usually the embassy or consulate will have trips that go certain places. You can go with other embassy or consulate personnel. The CLO, Community Liaison Office, which I believe I've talked about before, oftentimes will organize that. But besides like trips like that, your downtime, you work. Usually you just work regular hours. You work 8 to 5. You can go out to the bars at night. You can go to sporting events. You can do whatever it is you want as long as it's legal. You're free to do that. You're also, if you want to have extended time off, for example, like a little vacation, you get those too. I mean, you earn, I forget exactly what it is. I came in, I earned a little more time because of military service, but I think I was earning about 8 hours a pay period. Don't quote me on that, but it adds up pretty quick. And then you get like free leave here and there. If you go to a high threat post, you get some type of some home leave and different things, and actual free leave while you're at a high threat post to go like every like 3 times while you're at that post. You get 3 weeks here and there. But in general, for traditional posts, you get leave, you get vacation days. I was in Vietnam, I traveled all over. I went to Cambodia, I went to Thailand, I went to the Philippines. I hit up several countries in the area. So it's not restrictive like the military might be. Well, one, you earn leave in a different way and they count by hours. They don't count the weekends. I think the military is still like that, where I used to get 2.5 days a month and they would count the weekends. The government doesn't do that. So you say you have a weekend and then a holiday and you want to take 16 hours. Well, then you add 16 hours onto the holiday and you get, a good 5 days off. So it's pretty good setup, but yeah, you have flexibility to take vacation and do things within the parameters of the post and what they set out there. But in general, day-to-day activity, you're free. and you're also free to take vacations by yourself or with your family. It's pretty good setup. Hope that explains it. So what's the other one? No, let's do this one first. Is it worth doing some things to prepare for BSAC? This individual, it wasn't a military or law enforcement, and I've mentioned before that I think the breakdown kind of comes out to, you got a third former military, a third former law enforcement, and a third from some other field. It's not exact, but that's usually the way we articulate it. DS is going to teach you everything you need to know. I mentioned this in other videos. Be open-minded, listen, no matter how much experience you have or where you came from, listen. DS will teach you the way they want you to do it. You can surely use some of that experience you've had in past lives on the job and sometimes in training, and that's fine. Just make sure you're open-minded and listening to what DS is teaching you and the way DS does it. But is it worth doing some things? And he mentioned a couple of items like a Citizens Police Academy, and first aid course, firearm safety course. I mean, and this guy's already in the process, already passed his specs. Sure, you can do those. It won't hurt for sure. I don't know if it'll give you advantages, but if you know a little bit more about first aid, sure, a little more about firearm safety, or firearms in general, since you haven't had that experience. Yeah, it does. It could help you in that way. But I mean, if you don't, you're not going to be behind the power curve too much. They'll catch you up to where you need to be proficient. Then it's up to you. I've talked about this before. After that, to maintain that proficiency. It's a perishable skill. Anything you do, whether it's investigations or you're doing protection, just doing security in general, firearms, weapons handling, it's a perishable skill. So certainly train. So is it worth doing it? It is, but it's not going to hurt you if you don't. I think you're just fine. You'll learn. They'll teach you what you need to know. And the last one I had is, do domestic assignments have the same perks as overseas assignments? Nope, they sure don't. Domestic assignments, you're on your own. Now they'll move you to the location, from one location to another, so you don't have to pack up and move, and pay for everything at your assignments. I think the first assignment they pay for it as well, but every other assignment they move you. I'm pretty sure the first one as well after BSAC. But they'll move you out there. They do offer in between posts. They offer it's called house hunting trips. And so they'll pay for you to go out and kind of look at an area or look at some houses while you're out there prior to going out there. And then they give another allowance, and some of my DS colleagues that are listening can remind me what they call it. But basically, when your assignment's up and you go to the new location, I think you can get up to 60 days, maybe more, like in a hotel, and they'll pay for it. And so that's again, in addition to the house hunting trip, allowing you to find a house, close on a house, find an apartment, you name it. I would encourage people to take advantage of that. I didn't, and I ended up living, when I came to San Diego, I lived in a shitty area, and I mean, it's downtown, but shitty housing. I just, and I should have just taken advantage of it. But with that, there's pros and cons to each. So if you wait, if you go into the housing, the apartments, say an apartment rental or a hotel rental for 60 days, well, then you're 60 days without your stuff. So if you just came from overseas and you have a lot of things you packed up, say you play a freaking guitar or something, all your stuff's tucked away. They're not even get it to you until you get to your actual permanent home. So you're kind of out of it in that case. But otherwise, take advantage of it. But you do. But as for perks, no, you don't get the same perks. That's about it. That's all you get is they'll move you somewhere. You get a cost of living allowance and that type of stuff. When you're overseas, you get free housing. Your kids get free school. Your internet's paid for. There's all kind of stuff that's paid for. And you just bank money because you're not paying on anything. Unless you have a home that you're not renting out or something like that. But yeah, a ton of perks living overseas that you don't get. You also get a bunch of different types of pay. So you'll get differential pay if you're at a hardship kind of post. If you're at a hardship post, it's also what used to be called high threat posts. You'll get high threat pay, or I think it's called danger pay, and then you'll get differential pay on top of all your other pay. So that's a perk as well. Anytime you get money extra money is a perk. So anyway, that's that. Let's see. I'll answer one more. Any advice for wives, fiancés as they go out with, with a DS agent, or vice versa? It could be husbands as well, with spouses in general. And I don't really have any advice. If you're going to go out overseas, check with once you get your assignment, check with the community liaison officer, see what type of jobs are out there for your wife or your this guy asked specifically about his wife, so for your spouse, and see what's available and apply to them. And some jobs require clearances, and the government will get you a clearance if you get selected for the job, or if your spouse gets selected for the job. If your spouse is in a field that's popular, and when I say popular, I mean like teachers and nurses, they generally don't have any problem getting jobs overseas. I don't necessarily mean at the embassy, but there's just about every overseas post has some type of school, English language school, whether it's American school or Australian school, the British school, or some other type of school. And there's jobs available for a teacher to get, nursing as well as jobs in places for people to get. And there's other jobs, like I said, with the embassy, a lot of those jobs are not really not really the most high profile. A lot of them are like administrative assistants or something like that. But I mean, it's pretty cool. Working in an embassy is cool in general, I think. And then you're part of the community. So when you're overseas, you're really just enjoying living overseas. The work should be first, but sometimes it's secondary. Just because living overseas is a good time, and you generally build community. You find friendships out there. I think medium-sized posts. This is kind of sidebar, but medium-sized posts are the best because enough people there to find your friend group, but not so many that you don't get lost in the shuffle. And not so few that you're on top. You only know each other, and you don't like each other. So, but anyway, yeah, no, there's opportunities out there. I just think be open-minded, be adventurous. To tell your spouse, be hopefully they're adventurous, and be open-minded, and it'll be good. So anyway, that's all I got. Everything else is still as is. Still selling the book. It's going out. I had a couple purchased from my website today, CodyParron.com. You can buy apparel there as well. I have a new shirt coming out, by the way. I'll let you guys know when it gets closer. The design's being worked on right now, and so I'll get that out. Whenever I can. Still want to do a hat. Podcast is still going. I was pumped for season 2, and then a lot of stuff happened, both personal and in the world, and nothing bad, just busy. When it comes to personal stuff, so I've backed off, but I've pinged a few people lately to see if they're willing to come on. So just got to find some time. With the podcast, Off the X podcast. If this is the first time you're listening, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Spotify. Go check it out. Yeah. And a Facebook group. So if you're interested in becoming a DSS agent, go to the Facebook group, fill out the questions. It's simple questions, and let me know your interest, and I'll let you in. And there's plenty of questions. It's a ton of information. The whole point of that is, to get past all this online, like police officer forums, 911 forums that generally, are convoluted with sometimes BS. Just about everything here is, I would say everything here is legit, just because there's active DS agents there from the highest levels to brand new BSAC students to former DS agents and DS agent candidates. So somebody tries to BS you, they'll get called out. And generally when people say, well, I heard, I try to stop it unless I've heard it too and acknowledge that it's legit. I try to stop it. So, it's a good place to get intel. So it's called Becoming a DSS Agent. It's on Facebook. If you don't have an account on Facebook, I encourage you to get one, but, fill out the questionnaire. If I think it's a shady account, I'm not going to approve it. So, all right. That is it. Thanks all for the support. Give me a shout if you got any questions. Thanks, y'all. Out.